Welcome, my 339 subscribers, everyone who hasn't given up on AEW yet, and to those of you who think that Tony Khan is doing his damnedest to imitate Vince McMahon as much as he can. Welcome to my review of AEW Dynamite for the November 2nd, 2022 show. Let's begin. So I'm gonna have to preface the show by saying that what a fucking terrible Dynamite. I don't know what's happening. I don't feel like even reviewing things match per match or segment per segment. Like, as a whole, there is something wrong with this show. Structurally, as well as just their priorities. They have 2 more shows until Full Gear. And things are looking like they're going on the same direction as they have been for the last 2 pay-per-views. Just a bloated card that takes time away from some of the other matches. Some matches move to the pre-show, and generally just a shit show all throughout. Because first, structurally, they made one of the least important feuds in the show the fucking main event. And it actually negatively affected the show because it got an Usi chant. Yeah, a WWE chant crosses over to AEW. This is the first time that ever happened, and it's a failure of the company because they're supposed to be the game changers. They're supposed to be the place you go to for the best pro wrestling, the best booking decisions, and whatever. But to have an Usi chant go on in the main event, it just shows that you're exactly what the WWE was under Vince McMahon. It's what drew people to AEW in the first place. And now they're falling into that trap. Honestly, what the fuck is Tony Khan doing? I know he has to run Fulham FC, the Jacksonville Jaguars, plus AEW, but come on, man, this is your dream come true. Fucking make this your priority. The Jags are pretty much done for the season. Fulham is safely in the middle of the table, so they're gonna stay up the Premier League. And AEW is just in chaos. Or, you know what? As I've been saying, fucking delegate the shit. Bring in fucking bookers. And you know what? Maybe fucking bring in a writer too. But make him subordinate to a booker. So aside from that, we have the non-progression of storylines. What's happening to Danielson and Wheeler? What's happening to, the top storyline in the entire show, MJF and the Firm? There was a way to progress that storyline even without MJF, because you have to assume that he's out. He's out for this show because of the utter devastation that the Firm inflicted upon him. But, you failed to do that as well. Because Ethan Page did not talk. It would have been simple, just have Ethan Page talk. It would have elevated him. But no, he acted like a fucking henchman because he just kicked the shit out of Mox. That was it. He didn't even explain his actions. They did not address the MJF thing at all. What the fuck is going on here? And the things they decide to cover were lower card or mid card or just poorly executed shallow storylines. For example, Paige versus Britt Baker. What the hell are they fighting about? Is Britt just gatekeeping? They don't really say what they're gonna fight about. It's just they don't like each other, that's it. At least make a point, make an argument. And if the argument is just, you're making things worse for the baby faces in the company, that ain't a good one. And lastly, it's the fucking reuse of encounters, of post matches. It just alternates. It's like he's playing TW and that's pretty much it. It just alternates who gets the upper hand in the end. And we've had the person handing the belts to the other guys over and over again. It's been, oh my god, I can't even, it's been fucking overplayed to death. And they have to do something else. And plus, their best storyline in a Rampage, the one that Jade got mad about, should have fucking stayed on Rampage. And way to bury your women. So yeah, let's fucking start with the show. Okay, so for the first match, it's Darby Allin versus Jay Lethal. So this is one of the most unimportant feuds of the whole show. And I like that it starts off it's right where it should be. And you know what? They delivered a good match. from the start, they go after each other. Like, as Jay Lethal is making his entrance, Darby Allin, like, goes after him. Like, the only thing that was missing is if he actually, like, went for one of his crazy dives. But I can understand why he didn't. So yeah, they go right after each other. Darby takes some awesome fucking bumps. But now wasn't the show to do these things. He did all the stuff to shorten his career. You know, the good stuff. But yeah, again, this wasn't the place to do him. They did a monkey flip spot that was, like, impressive to watch. Because they do this monkey flip. Darby lands on his legs. And then, like, it's not enough to stop, like, the impact. And yeah, I like the levels of outcomes to moves. I like that it's just not like binary, that if it looks like he countered it, he countered it. Like, I like that you can try to counter but fail. The figure 4 leg lock through the guardrail was also a nice touch. He got up close and personal to the fans. And yeah, it must have been fun being in that front row. They got their money's worth. The top spot of the match was poorly shot, and poor Darby. Because you have this view here. It's perpendicular to, like, the opposite to the hard cam. Yeah, like, opposite to the hard cam, the view is through the post, and it gets Jay Lethal's, like, front, Darby Allin's front, and then when the impact actually happens, you barely see any of it. Poor fucking Darby. And again, I like these, like, moves with depth. Because Jay tries to, like, military press slam Darby into the steps. And then he tries to defend his abdomen, but he ends up taking it in the face. Yeah, love the depth. We had some fun working on body parts that ranges from leg smashes as well as submissions. Darby Allin comes back with a coffin splash that's like springboard from the ropes. And Jay does this awesome, like, pump handle face buster. There was a counter fest, including like a king's elbow countered to a pin, lethal injection countered to a rear naked choke. We have smart use of Satnam Singh. Jay Lethal uses him as cover, like literally to hide whatever he's planning to do against Darby, as well as just like a wall. There's just like a barrier for Darby to bounce off of, and he does bounce really well. Darby gets deflected off of Satnam. And this actually makes sense because the ref, Bryce Remsburg, doesn't DQ it because it was Darby's choice. Satnam Singh was just there to defend himself. Darby chose violence, and violence is what he got. It leads to an ejection, but not a disqualification. So for the finish of the match, we have an outside interference by someone who is dressed like Sting. He hits Darby in the injured, the taped abdomen part with a bat. Throws him back in the ring, and then lethal injection, 1, 2, 3. This match was really good. This was like my favorite match of the show, or number 2. I'm gonna have to think about that. But it's a TV main event, pay-per-view undercard match in a vacuum. Top spots were the lethal injection countered into a rear naked choke, the dive to Satnam Singh, and just him deflecting Darby, and the backdrop on the apron that was poorly shot. Poor Darby. Or you know what, number 1 and 2 are interchangeable. And then we have the fucking post-match, the thing that absolutely lets down like this whole segment here. So for this post-match segment, they reveal that the imposter Sting is fucking Cole Carter from the factory. To like an abysmal response, nobody remembers this guy. He challenged Ricky Starks, but who the fuck remembers him? I mean, he has like a nice look. He kind of looks like AJ Styles, and that makes sense. Seeing who Jay Lethal brings out this week, like his friend of the pay-per-view cycle. That's what I'm going to call it. But yeah, he brought in the Machine Guns last time, and now he brings in Jeff fucking Jarrett. And yeah, spoilers, Jeff Jarrett, after like they do this false Sting entrance, Jeff Jarrett shows right behind Darby, and then he nails him with a guitar shot. Beautiful guitar shot, by the way. But yeah, most people don't like this move, but I do. Because, I mean, like IRL, Tony Khan gave Jeff Jarrett like his old job from the WWE back, and he's like a chief business something. And it makes sense, but you gotta wonder why he was fired in the first place. But he is a great mind for the business. Jim Cornette likes the guy. He spent his whole life in wrestling. He ran a wrestling company once. He booked for TNA at a time. But yeah, Global Force Wrestling, I think, is now dead, so shit. Questionable. Very questionable resume with running a company. But he's a nice mind to have backstage. And Jeff actually killed it on the mic. Like, I love his promo here because it's a nice introduction to him. He's a WWE Hall of Famer. He's a legend. Not as big as the other legends. He wrestled Ric Flair in his last match and performed like decently well. And yeah, I think it was awesome him bringing up his history and his family and how they're like basically a wrestling dynasty. But yeah, this is not the best time for this to happen. Plus, why'd you have to bring in Cole Carter? Is it because he looks like AJ Styles? Because that's the only thing that connects him to this. And yeah, I mean, you could have brought someone else. Like, if it helps Cole Carter, then good. But, I mean, as of now, it's looking pretty shady. I mean, even Jeff Jarrett, like, this edition is looking shady at this time. With 2 weeks left to the pay-per-view. I mean, it's probably going to end up with, like, a tag team match between Darby Sting against Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal, but, I mean, I don't know. I mean, this is... You know what? They might bring Ric Flair back, but I don't know. This is baffling storyline-wise. Are they going to have Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett go up against Darby and Sting and then against Ric Flair and Andrade? Who the fuck knows? I mean, I don't know where this is going. I don't like where this is going, but you know what? No buts. They had a storyline where Jay Lethal was about to turn face, but they dropped it. You could have had, like, literally face Jay Lethal with Jeff Jarrett and, like, Satnam Singh and Sanjay Dutt, but yeah, I mean, they dropped the ball on that storyline, as well as JAS and BCC. They dropped the ball on two face turns that could have been great for the story, but this one to a lesser degree. This one I can forgive more, so that's why I'm pretty lukewarm to this. Let's see what Jeff Jarrett can do. Okay, so after that is the customary Mox promo that comes after the first match. Like, this is formulaic as fuck. This stopped for like a couple of weeks, but now it's fucking back, and I fucking hate it because it's just formulaic. Like, why always put his promo here and they always turn out to be samey? Like, I don't know. I mean, why not just give Ethan Page promo time? Like, have him explain his actions, explain the firm's actions, maybe express their new direction, but they're making it too obvious that MJF had it planned because he acted like pretty much a henchman after the Mox match. And yeah, it does make sense that Mox faces someone in the firm, but it's like their lowest tier guy. It's their lowest pushed guy. And it doesn't make sense to happen this far in the feud. Or you know what? You could have just had like a BCC versus firm match. That would have made sense than have them fight against JAS. That feud is over. It should not be on TV again. And it's played out, and they fucking ruined it with Garcia. But yeah, I think Hangman should have won. I think that was the plan in the first place, since Excalibur like let it slip. And now their plans are ruined, so they had to make this match. But it's a dumb match to make. Like, what benefit? How does it build to your main storyline to have a match between Jon Moxley against the lowest pushed dude in that faction? I don't know, man. It's like Tony Khan's reverting to his like comfort zone too much. You have 3 weeks left, including this show, to the pay-per-view. And you're gonna have your champion face against Lee Moriarty, the guy who's supposed to have a pure championship match. Make it make sense. I can't anymore with Mox and BCC. It's a well-executed Moxley promo, but it's just nothing special at all. Okay, so after this, we have a video package by the Elite. Finally, something out of the box and different. So this is another one of these like uh, Elite members fading out of picture sort of video packages. It's like the Thanos snap thing. But this time it like breaks the fourth wall. It brings us to the view of the editor, and then the editor like edits them out. And it's pretty obvious that they're going after the trios titles. But I don't know how they're gonna deliver this. I don't know how they're gonna come back exactly. This is actually one of the better parts of the show, but at least it gives us a hint. It shows a video of Death Triangle winning the titles, and yeah, it makes sense. The match is probably gonna be like the best match in Full Gear, but it better not be just like an ordinary thing. Like, oh, we're back. Like, make them play it up. But yeah, pretty interesting stuff. AEW needs the Elite. It's gone on long enough without them. They're the namesake of the company, and they provide much needed match quality, like consistent match quality every week. So after this is the Jon Moxley versus Lee Moriarty match, and as a match itself, in a vacuum, it's alright. I mean, it's an even match, but that's the problem. Like, they do a nice lockup at the start. Mox dominates the start of the match, but he concedes too much control to Lee for the rest of the match. And that's like so far in terms of push that Mox should not be wrestling in an even playing field with this dude who's not even like a main eventer, who's booked weaker. And yet Mox gets his ass kicked in like a 50-50 match, arguably 60-40. This should have been a non-wrestling segment. This should have been something to progress the feud. But no, it doesn't progress the feud. Like, even after the match. After that even match that shouldn't have been even. That ends after the BCC elbow to Yuji Gitami submission. Mox wins. But then Ethan Page goes in the ring. He just boots Mox and does not say anything. He doesn't address what happened last week. He doesn't address that MJF's not there, that they betrayed him. Like, what are you even doing? What's going on? Like, where's the continuity? And like I said last week, for fuck's sake, this could have been your chance to elevate Ethan Page. Everyone fucking loves him. He can promo. He can wrestle. It's nice that he got one over Mox, but without saying anything, it doesn't really cement him as like the leader of the firm. And you know what? Another thing. It's not even sure that they're ever gonna cross paths. We don't know if there's a match next week between them or like the week right before Full Gear. We don't know if MJF is gonna face him or something. And yes, an encounter between them is not guaranteed since MJF is probably gonna win at Full Gear. And the tournament is gonna start at Full Gear, so what's the point even? Without having him talk. Next week better be a multi-man match, a multi-man tag team match between the firm and Mox with somebody else. It could be MJF, it could be other members of BCC. Just have them feud and keep them away from JAS, for fuck's sake. Okay. As for the match itself, it's just TV undercard. Nothing special. I was too pissed with how they were booked to focus on the wrestling quality. But I guess they wrestle well. So yeah, TV undercard to TV main event, but more of TV undercard. Spots of the match is the counter to the Gargano escape. Yeah, it's the exact move. And then the cutter by Moxley was also cool. So yeah, so after this is the Saraya interview, and it's her bringing doubt to her medical status. She says she has one more doctor to ask before she's like fully cleared to wrestle. We all know she's gonna wrestle, and it's her explaining her motivation in joining AEW. Simple stuff. It makes her look better than she was when she did a promo in the ring. I think it's better for Saraya to do promos in a more controlled setting. It doesn't hurt nor improve the current state of her feud. It just moves the chains. But exactly what the hell are they fighting about? I'm kind of confused. Is it bragging rights? Is it just the heels keeping the faces down? Or is it just Brit wants to fight? Yeah, just establish that. Have more promos against each other. This is also something I'll complain about Brit's promo later on in the show. That it doesn't really address like her hatred towards Paige. It doesn't make it personal. Like I said, it doesn't heat up the feud. Shit, but I'll save it for later. So after this is William Regal's promo. And for fuck's sake, we all liked William Regal and MJF, like, having a verbal battle in the ring. But this was too fucking short. This was like a couple of seconds. It did not even reach 1 minute. It's just Regal saying 2 sentences, reminding us of the promo battle that they had. Like, tell us something we don't know. MJF got taken out. Tell us something about that. Instead of just reiterating what you said the last time. Now this one actively cools down the feud. William Regal, great delivery, but this does nothing. It actively detracts from the MJF versus Moxley feud. Because that one is just so hot. And we get no follow-up, no explanation about the beatdown. Instead, we have this. It's like this should have been like last week's segment. Or not at all. This was a waste of time, honestly. William Regal said nothing different. We learned nothing new. Actively detracts from the feud. Just because of how hot the feud is. So yeah. So after this is, thank God, just a perfect segment. It's not National Scissoring Day, but it's okay. It's just like a notch below that. But this was another fun segment as well. So Max does one of his better raps without needing to go the shocking route. Billy Gunn has his fingers taped after Swerve attacked it, injured it with a pair of pliers. I thought he cut off one of the fingers. That would have been awesome. And like he just had it reattached. That would have been a great touch to the storyline. Might be too dark, but it would draw ratings. He could have just pretended to like have his fingers cut. But yeah, enough of that. Let's get to this actual segment. So this whole thing is just like an extension of the National Scissoring Day. It would have made sense if we had like just a promo battle between Swerve in Our Glory and The Acclaim, since you hurt Daddy Ass. But I don't think that would have gotten a greater reaction as compared to what happens here. Because this one just doubles down on the whole gimmick. Apparently, it's transcended the wrestling space and has crossed over into sports, as well as like some talk shows, I think. And like that catchphrase still gets reactions, and this whole thing got reactions. And as they're saying their catchphrases, they're giving Daddy Ass some gifts. And this was just wholesome because they make it like for kids, actually. Like they make the scissoring thing for kids. So yeah, so they make it like more PG with this sneaky swerve. It like appeals to children. It's like a rhyming thing. And then the whole thing with the scissoring, the actual like meaning between the scissoring, it's just like fun for the adults as well. Literally and figuratively. So yeah, so they give Daddy Ass some gifts, like 4. So first is like the new foam scissor hands from the merch store. Makes sense. It's a nice promotional thing for these. Second is a gift from the crowd, and they pick like a sign or like just any crowd sign, any like cutesy thing from the crowd. Objectively, one guy who had like the movable scissors had the better sign, but they picked like this like little kid who's being carried by his dad. He's holding this like a static just like paper scissors that's Christmas themed though. So I guess because it's a kid and it's like a nice artwork to like the thing, they picked it. Billy Gunn just like hugged it like the whole time. He like talked to the kid. Such wholesome shit. Billy Gunn is doing like the best work of his career. They turned scissoring into like this like dirty thing that alludes to like a sexual position to a wholesome unifying hand gesture. And it's fucking amazing. And Max even scissors the kid. For the third gift, they preface it with Billy Gunn's accomplishments. They reference the Reverse Battle Royal in TNA. And then they give him like a trophy of like the world's greatest dad. That's like considerably big. They take shots at the DX reunion. Daddy Ass does a cross chop off camera. Like literally, the camera guy points the camera away from the ring just to avoid a lawsuit. And it's a nice nod to the WWE, as well as a shot. Like AEW literally asked for nothing. And then the final gift is actually mind-blowing. And I think it's like the full circle to this storyline. It's a certificate of adoption of Billy to the Acclaimed. They tease signing it. It's actually weird and pretty wholesome, but the ass boys show up with their jealous asses and facilitate an attack by W. Morrissey, ruining the whole thing. And yeah, it's a surprise attack, so he's able to take out everyone, and he's 7 foot tall, and you can't teach that. So yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense that one guy beats up the tag team champs and their manager, and they're like stepfather. So yeah, ass boys and W. Morrissey, the firm, attack the Acclaimed and Daddy Ass. FTR show up and save them, picks up their belts, hands it to them, and this looks very familiar because this is how pretty much AEW builds most of their like title matches. I've seen this so many times, even in the WWE. It's overplayed. It's just like alternating positions most of the time. Think of something else. Really. But for this one, it's special. It's the Acclaimed and FTR, like the two most over tag teams in the entire company. And they both can go, they both can promo. It's going to be a fire feud after Full Gear. So I think this is a perfect segment. And it's the only one with a clear reason and purpose that progresses the storyline so far for the whole show. So yeah, this is segment of the night so far. So after this is the Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter interview. So this is just very short, very simple, a bit pointless again, because they just ask for a match on Rampage. And you can see how hollow the feud is. They don't make it personal with Saraya. They don't even tease like a breakup between them. And when I heard that they asked for a tag team match, I fucking knew it was gonna be Sky Blue and Madison Rayne. It was in my mind. And we know who's gonna win there. It's good delivery, but you could have used this just to build up the feud instead of getting viewers to Rampage. Like, add more complexity to the feud, but maybe they can do it in 2 weeks, who knows? And on second thought, by the way, why not have Toni Storm cut a promo in the ring? Because she never does. She has like a video sort of back-to-back promo with Jamie Hayter, and honestly, you could have had that in the ring instead. Next week, they're probably gonna have a match, but you need to make shit more personal between the two. Maybe finally get Saraya in the ring. And another thing, by the way, Toni Storm, they didn't let her cut an in-ring promo along with Jamie, but for Saraya and Britt, they do it all the time. And I just like to ask, who is the women's champion? Who should be the priority of the feud? That's Toni Storm, even if I don't like her in the ring. She's still a very good promo, as well as Jamie Hayter. Saraya has been having trouble in cutting promos, and Britt is just too much. So yeah, again, this could have been used for something else. Pretty pointless, highlights how hollow the feud is. And yeah, it's like they're scared to let the women's champion cut a promo after Thunder Rosa. And Toni can cut a promo. So let me just add this. As for the title runs, Thunder Rosa is obviously going to lose when she comes back. If her injury is fake, this is the dickiest of dick moves, and she's not going to get that title ever again. Her title run was a failure. She tried to prolong it by faking an injury. as the women have been hinting at. She also can't cut a promo, but she's had very good matches that people seem to just underrate. Toni Storm has had 0 good matches. Closest one might be the Shida match. And she was not given a chance to cut a promo. She was not given a chance to star in her own feud, so that's why it's a bit unfair. The women's division is a shit show, just give it to Jamie Hayter. Or just get Athena, or Ruby Soho, or anyone who can wrestle in promo. For fuck's sake, fix this shit. And keep the title away from Toni Storm, as well as Thunder Rosa after trying to pull off what she's pulling off right now. Or Britt Baker, because she just steals all the spotlight from everyone else. And Jade, keep it away from Jade because she's not ready yet. Nyla Rose maybe, but I think she's more suited to the TBS title. She can have more fun with it, and it's gonna be like an all-out good time. So yeah, enough of the women's division, let's move on to the next match. Okay, so the next match is Chris Jericho versus Colt Cabana. And Colt Cabana was the surprise. And it would have made sense if it was in Chicago, since fans would love him. But did they really just do it to piss off CM Punk? I mean, if you're gonna do a surprise like this, have it someone over and have it someone good in the ring, who's pretty much still at the peak of his athletic form. Because Chris Jericho isn't, and neither is Colt Cabana. And we saw it in this match. When I fucking saw this announced in social media, I knew this was gonna be bad. Colt is a Ring of Honor legend, but I don't think he can go anymore. And we fucking saw it here. So for the match itself, the crowd reacts loudly for Colt. They started to love him at the start of the match, and it was alright. But he botched an avalanche fireman's carry, and they take like a fall, like to the back. Like Colt has Jericho in a fireman's carry position. Immediately, they both fall off and like take a bad bump. They like backflip and crash to the floor. Something could have happened. CM Punk's probably laughing at home for this attempted like shot at him, since that's the guy who told him he was a locker room cancer, and that's the guy, his former friend, who he now fucking hates. And after this big botch, after this colossal botch, I mean, I'm not gonna just call it like just a big botch. It was fucking massive. It was life-altering. Someone could have died, and it looked terrible on TV, and they got a good shot of it. We saw every single detail of that botch. And so after this, the fans in the show who were loving Colt Cabana stopped chanting. Like, they were, this ruined the match for the crowd as well as myself. The reactions, like, there were some, but they were muted for the remainder of the match. For the strike battles, they pretty much don't react to that. For the Billy Goat Curse, for the signature moves of Colt Cabana, the Superman, for the Judas Effect, that granted looked terrible. Jericho raised his arm higher because Colt couldn't go lower, as well as the finish, which was pretty cool. It's a code breaker that doesn't look half bad. But it was a terrible, sloppy match. It shouldn't be on this show. It's like a dark match and should be never seen by like the nationwide audience or like the world. I'm gonna add to my rating system now. Maybe I'm gonna make dark match and then closed doors match that doesn't see the light of day. And this one is one of those. It's that bad. This was just a piece of shit. And you know what's a bigger piece of shit than that? It's the JAS versus BCC brawl at the end. That did not need to happen because the feud is pretty much over. It's Claudio and Jericho one more time, and Claudio better fucking win. Because this whole Ring of Honor thing is just getting dumb. And realistically, you can't face every ROH champion. Jericho tries to attack Ian Riccoboni again. He manages to destroy his glasses this time, but BCC go for the save. And like how they do this is so stupid because the members of BCC go one by one. They get their ass kicked and then finally they even it up. And then security guards break them up. Honestly, after failing with the Daniel Garcia face turn, why even have these two factions feud? And what happened to the Wheeler Yuta Bryan Danielson storyline? Something was happening there, but you don't address it at all. There was no progression. Again, you just have stupid shit happening like this. Like this entire fucking match. It's like Tony Khan is truly a Vince McMahon fanboy. He's trying to do it like Vince did before he stepped down. I fucking hate it so much. Just kill it with fire. So after this is the Pac and Fenix promo. So Pac seduces Fenix to the dark side. They are setting up for a breakup. I think for when after the Elite take back the titles. If the Elite come back, have them take it after Full Gear. Because it's too late to build a proper feud between the two factions. Have the return happen at Full Gear and have Death Triangle face someone else. Because God knows we need the match time for the more important matches. And if it's the Elite versus Death Triangle with a 2-week feud, and then you put them in the ring for like 20 plus minutes, that's not going to be that satisfying. So yeah, have a pay-per-view, 2 pay-per-view length build for these two factions. Expend all of the combinations and just have fun with it. Booking them at Full Gear won't do any good now. But for this one, it's just Pac showing Fenix the way of the hammer. He wants him to use it against Orange and Luchasaurus. It's okay, at least it progresses the storyline. But I thought they were cool already since when they won, they hugged it out. And I think Tony Khan is forgetting like the small details of his shows. He's also forgetting like just how many shows are left until the pay-per-view. Someone needs to focus on that shit and not just half-ass it. Tony Khan has lost it. He's unable, or I think like incompetent, in the job of booking his shows. He needs help. For fuck's sake, delegate. So yeah, after this is Pac versus Fenix versus Orange Cassidy. The only good match plus good post-match combination. This is also match of the night, no question. But it's kind of weird because the reward, if you manage to retain this, is a choice of your next opponent. And yeah, it's like pretty unique, but it's already like a God-given right for wrestlers to be able to pick who they're gonna like defend their titles against. I think like as a champion, you can do that. It's just something like some spice to be added to this match, and it gives Orange the excuse to challenge the dude that like comes to save him at the end. And yeah, I already said the ending of the match, but for me, the journey itself is fucking worth it. So yeah, this was the most unpredictable of the entire show because I didn't know if it was going to be Orange or if it was going to be Luchasaurus. Hell, I didn't even know that it was going to be for an All-Atlantic Dream match. So I was pleasantly surprised. My pick was Orange because it made the most sense. Luchasaurus could win just to add something in his match against Jungle Boy, but having him lose right away is a big mistake. So I like the result of Orange winning because not only does it protect Luchasaurus from being like the shortest reigning All-Atlantic champion, but it also gives like an opportunity for what happens after the match to happen. So yeah, the story of the match is of course two smaller guys teaming up against the monster. The loudest pops were with Orange and Fenix facing off. They're really fast-paced. A 1v1 between them would be interesting. The crowd was quieter for Luchasaurus, and it wasn't that surprising because he didn't really do much. He played heel just a little too much, especially when he was in the ring. He had a lot of downtime. He just like worked very slow as someone who's named Luchasaurus. He should be able to like lucha. His best spot was a chokeslam to the table. This takes out Rey Fenix and allows Luchasaurus and Orange Cassidy to go up the stage and prompt a Jungle Boy interference. So Luchasaurus is about to do the same thing that he did to Jungle Boy to Orange. It's chokeslamming him to the like pyro thing. It did not look pretty the last time, but thankfully, yeah, Jungle Boy interfered. He hit Luchasaurus with a chair a bit, and then he goes for a flying crossbody, putting Luchasaurus through the table down below. And this was sick. This was spot of the night, no question. Pac comes out, and this is how you get 3 stories to properly intersect, to intertwine with each other. Because he presents the hammer to Fenix, Luchasaurus is already out. So Fenix like throws it out, he rejects it, and it doesn't cost him the match right away. It's just like in their 6-man tag team match. It's so we won't get the same storyline where, oh, you should have cheated, you could have won, or, oh, you shouldn't have distracted me or like made me want to cheat, I could have won. This one was a lot better because it was actually on Fenix. So we get pin attempts, and then the finish of the match is an orange punch to Fenix as he's doing like a rolling sort of rope rebound attack. And then he gets orange punched out of the air. 1, 2, 3. Great match, but Luchasaurus was a letdown and did not perform his best. So yeah, top 3 spots of the match. So number 3 was the chokeslam to the table. Number 2 was the finish. And number 1 was the crossbody by Jungle Boy through the table below the stage. So yeah, post-match segment was really cool because Pac attacks Orange right away. And then, what a surprise. Because I know people who this guy a lot. They don't think he's a draw, but he's going up against Orange Cassidy. And it's there to appeal to the fans that this guy appeals to. It's for the hardcore fans. And not everything has to appeal to casuals, honestly. You have Moxley there, you have Jericho there. Sometimes you gotta appeal to your core fan base, and this is the way to do it. It's a Shibata match, but I don't know if Shibata can still go. He had a match against Ren Narita. I've still yet to watch it. Okay, so just watched it, and yeah, the guy can still go. If you're an Orange Cassidy hater, you're gonna enjoy this one because he's gonna get his ass kicked. I just think it's a weird place to book it. Like they're booking it for Rampage when I think they should be booking it for the pay-per-view. It's literally not gonna get any ratings. It's probably gonna get more of its like core fan base to watch, but you're talking about like its base levels from last year. It's not gonna go crazy high, but it's gonna like be okay. And plus Mike Tyson, so more people are gonna watch it. And Mike Tyson is like a shooter, he's a boxer. So he'd probably add some interesting commentary to this guy who was a shooter, who wrestles in a realistic style. I mean, in Rampage it's interesting, but you could have booked this in like Dynamite next week, or in the pay-per-view, or after the pay-per-view. Yeah, but I'm okay with Orange Cassidy losing to Shibata because it's fucking Shibata. The guy's back. He hasn't wrestled much, but just imagine him in AEW. Like that's literally how I booked my TW save. I made him like the ROH TV champ and just had him beat people up. Fans might not know him. They might not react to him like initially. But if they see how this guy fucking delivers, like just the stiff style, the realistic style, it might be something they're gonna be into. Because there's no one like this in AEW right now. You know what? I'm calling it. Shibata's gonna win. Shibata should fucking win. So yeah, looks like I'm gonna watch Rampage. Okay, so after this is Swerve and Keith Lee with Rick Ross. And this was like bog standard for Swerve and Keith. The real star of the show here is Rick Ross. Because this is basically Swerve just flexing his friends. And Rick Ross is one hell of a personality. He acts like Swerve's manager. And he talks with the enthusiasm of a manager. This guy has it. He was so much better than Lamar Jackson out there. It wasn't even close. Rick Ross can do this shit while he's not making music or having tours. It's like Giannis levels of enthusiasm, but you have a dude who can actually work. By work, I mean on the mic. So yeah, this pretty much foreshadows a breakup between this faction, and I wouldn't be opposed to Rick Ross being Swerve's manager. So yeah, okay promo, bog standard, but Rick Ross stole the show. So after this is, unfortunately, Jade versus Marina Shaffir. And it wasn't as bad as I expected, but it certainly did not, like, prove anything against fucking JD from New York. JD completely won. JD tore this a new asshole. Like, this was not a good match. That I think they knew it. The self-awareness here was over 9,000. And I think JD should get his flowers for this, for like calling it as it is, sticking to his guns, just like defending himself. Because yes, the match was shit. It was so shit that even AEW knew that it was shit. So they had to have Nyla Rose and Vicky Guerrero doing commentary on stage. And this would have been perfect for Rampage, but not your main show. It would have also been better if, like, the topic of, like, Nyla and Vicky was better. If, like, they actually had something funny or substantial to say. But no, it was just some random shit. It didn't work that much. I enjoyed Nyla's previous segments with this, and not at all this one. But yeah, I like the creativity, I like the effort, but it wasn't executed well at all, and it was pretty bad. It's not the worst segment in Dynamite history. I'm sure I can think of worse, like Thunder Rosa's promo, Jericho versus Colt Cabana, and others, but this just wasn't it. And yeah, they sort of effectively buried Jade and Marina by doing this whole thing. Because it's like saying they were so bad in the ring that you had to have one of your most entertaining wrestlers commentate over it. And she wasn't even in the zone at that point. But yeah, bad match. This shouldn't even have been on the card. This should have been on a Rampage. Yeah, literally. This would have made Rampage better, actually. Nyla Rose would have been more on point since more preparation. And we couldn't have anything like to bog this Dynamite down even more. So yeah, Jade wins, jaded. Kiera Hogan tries to take the title, but Nyla Rose takes her out. And then she leaves Marina for dead. So yeah, for the match itself, it shouldn't be on TV. It should be like on Dark. I enjoyed this more than I did the Jericho versus Cabana match, but it's not really good. And JD deserves an apology from all of you fuckers, as well as Jade Cargill, for this terrible travesty of a segment. So yeah, after this, thankfully, we have like one of the best segments of the night. It's actually the best segment of the night if you think about it. It might be tied with the Acclaimed segment, but this one's not in the ring, so I'm gonna put this at second instead. Because this was like beautiful. This was movie-esque. I mean, like maybe not movie-esque, maybe like a TV series with a high budget-esque, because it's like deep. Okay, so Julia Hart and a bunch of like druid dudes, a bunch of cultists, bury the dead House of Black members. Who knows how they died? But yeah, it's shot very like high quality with a lot of cuts that reminds me of like the Twin Peaks Need a Light guys. Like I forgot what those guys are called. But yeah, one of them is burned. So I think Malachi was burned. One is buried, and then one is thrown at sea. And then they all like resurrect in the end. This is how you build stars. This is how you catapult House of Black to the main event. Like, this is the most avant-garde shit in this whole show, but I like avant-garde shit. I like The Witch, I like The Babadook, I even like Nightingale, as well as like French New Wave films. And this was just like on another level in wrestling. Like, visually it looks better than Bray Wyatt's shit, But Bray Wyatt's has more content. It actually has threads around it. Bray's has a storyline. And this is just something to start things up. So if this is AEW's attempt to answer back to like the Bray thing, they need to step it up even more. Like have a storyline behind it, have it elevate House of Black, finally treat them like a proper faction so that they won't leave. And anything, come on. Just anything to fully show what Tommy End can do. So yeah, after this is Jamie Hayter versus Tony Storm, the promo, the video segment. And this is basically like all the build to Tony Storm's matches. Same with the one against Shida, but now with Jamie Hayter. It's just like a reminiscing the picks to make the feud more personal. But it works, it's alright. But the segment after this should be in the ring. Like this is the last time I'm gonna accept this. The next should be a promo in the ring to build up to Full Gear. And like rehearse before you perform them, just so you do it better than Thunder Rosa. And maybe have Tony drop the belt. Have Jamie take it. So yeah, for the main event, we have Samoa Joe versus Brian Cage for the Ring of Honor Television Championship. So everyone loves big men, right? Because that's what draws. So yeah, initially, it doesn't draw shit. But eventually, I think people respected Brian Cage, which was nice. Because this was by no means a bad match. You have Samoa Joe and Brian Cage. Have some respect. But the Baltimore crowd, I think, was tired. The rest of the show was pretty shit. And they weren't invested in Brian Cage. So whenever Brian Cage was in control, or like that one time, it plotted so much and the crowd didn't react at all. It was sad to watch. They only reacted when Joe did anything. The start of the match was fun, but it's bogged down when Cage was in control because, like, there were a lot of rest holds, and I don't think that's how you should do it, especially in the main event, especially if you're trying to get over. Because Samoa Joe, even if he's a babyface, does a lot of rest holds. And Brian Cage, people don't know that much. He was off TV, and I think it would have served him well to like show more of his stuff because he eventually does it. He eventually just spams moves and then he gets the crowd to clap for him. But before this, when he did all of the rest spots, the crowd chanted "You're not Usi" to Samoa Joe, which is a total failure of AEW. Because they used to have people chant in WWE shows their stuff. But now it's the other way around. How do you have that happen? This was supposed to be the alternative. This was supposed to be how wrestling should be. And this was supposed to be an escape for like wrestling fans who just didn't want to watch the WWE anymore because of the poor shit matches. But now, it's reversed. AEW's booking has been shit. This show has been shit and is like Vince McMahon WWE quality. Triple H is, even if the matches like don't deliver sometimes, the segments hit all the time, 100%. Especially the Bloodline. Sami Zayn, a former indie guy who's now integrated to the WWE system but also has his soul with him, has gotten so over that he's having his thing chanted in an AEW show. I never thought I'd see the day. So yeah, the strikes were hard, there were too many rest holds, the match needed to be more even to get the crowd pumped up. I think having like stages of one person dominating the whole time is just a boring match structure. It should be an even fight. Maybe counters could help. Because by the end, I think Brian Cage got it. He did a 619, a pump handle facebuster, a spinning elbow drop, and an outside dive. This guy had all the spots of the match, and he made the people respect him after. But I still think that it's a failure on your part if you have the other show's thing chanted in your match. So I need to dock some points from this. So yeah, the finish is like the crowd finally showing Brian Cage respect. Cage does like the ECG monitor to a flatline like sort of gesture. It's not the WWE fucking symbol. Are you fucking kidding me? Are you guys insane? Is it The Fiend? He doesn't do the QRSs. It would be cool if he does like QRSs. It's more of a VTAC, but it's an ECG. Flatline. Now you know. So yeah, top spots of the match. Spinning elbow drop at number 3. Pump handle face buster at number 2. And then his outside dive is number 1. The match rating is a TV undercard, pay-per-view undercard match. And the post-match was very like formulaic again. That seems to be the problem with AEW. Because we have the Embassy predictably attacking, Wardlow goes in for the save, and then Powerhouse Hobbs attacks Wardlow, lifts up the belt, and then it's on for the pay-per-view. And you could have built this even sooner, but I guess you have enough time since it started last week on Rampage, and then now it's this, but you could have like given us more promos between Hobbs and Wardlow. We could have had more build. Like minimum build for a feud is 4 weeks. If you can't do that, don't do the match on the pay-per-view. So yeah, there better be a Powerhouse Hobbs and Wardlow segment on Rampage to at least cram that shit. So yeah, overall, this was a shit show. This was like terrible. This might be one of the worst Dynamite shows in like years. It might be the worst actually. It doesn't have any standout matches. It doesn't have any like transcendent promos to save it. It has a very good video segment though, and a wholesome in-ring segment. It has like some above average matches, but it has maybe the worst match in AEW history. So yeah, I enjoyed Nakazawa versus Jabali more than Jericho versus Cabana. So yeah, terrible ass show. Hopefully they do better. They have 2 more weeks till Full Gear, and for fuck's sake, don't just cram that card up, for the love of God. So like, comment, and subscribe for engagement, share if you don't know me, hit that bell notification for future videos, and please, watch my shit.